The morning Daniel lost his job began like any other, until a single act of kindness changed everything. The sun had barely risen over the dusty roadside garage when the old woman's car rolled in, coughing smoke like it had just survived a long battle. Daniel wiped the grease from his hands and walked over slowly, sensing the worry written across her fragile face. The car was barely holding itself together, and the woman behind the wheel looked even more worn out than the vehicle itself. Her hands trembled slightly as she stepped out, clutching a small purse as if it held her last hope. Daniel had worked at that garage for nearly 8 years. He was known as the quiet mechanic, the one who spoke less but worked harder than anyone else. His coworkers joked that he could listen to an engine for 5 seconds and tell its entire life story. But what people admired most about Daniel wasn't just his skill with machines. It was his heart. That morning, when he lifted the hood of the old woman's car, he immediately saw the problem. A cracked hose and a failing water pump, serious enough to leave someone stranded but simple enough for an experienced mechanic to fix quickly. The woman explained softly that she had been driving to the hospital. Her husband was there, and the doctors had called her early that morning. Daniel noticed the way her voice shook when she spoke about the hospital. Then she opened her purse. Inside were only a few folded bills. Not enough. Not even close. Daniel paused for a moment. Around him, the garage buzzed with noise, tools clanging, engines roaring, the smell of oil thick in the air. But in his mind, everything became quiet. He thought about his own mother. He remembered the nights she worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table when he was a kid. He remembered how strangers had helped them when they had nothing. And in that moment, Daniel made a decision. He fixed the car, carefully, properly, completely. When the job was done, the engine ran smoother than it had in years. But when the woman nervously asked how much she owed, Daniel simply smiled and told her there was nothing to pay. He said the world had helped him once, and today it was his turn to help someone else. Tears filled the old woman's eyes as she thanked him over and over before driving away toward the hospital. Daniel returned to his workbench feeling lighter than he had in months. But the peace didn't last long. Because someone had been watching. The garage owner, Mr. Carter, was a man who measured everything in dollars. Profit was his religion, and kindness was something he believed belonged in fairy tales. When he learned that Daniel had repaired the car without charging a single cent, his face turned red with fury. In front of the entire staff, Mr. Carter shouted that Daniel had stolen from the company. He accused him of giving away labor, parts, and time. Daniel tried to explain. He tried to describe the woman's situation. But Mr. Carter didn't care. Within minutes, Daniel was told to remove his uniform and leave the garage immediately. 8 years of loyalty ended in less than 5 minutes. Daniel walked out carrying a small box of tools that belonged to him. The morning sunlight felt colder now. His coworkers avoided eye contact, afraid they might be next. As Daniel stepped onto the empty street, uncertainty settled heavily in his chest. He had rent to pay, bills to cover, and now he had no job. Before the story continues, take a moment to support this channel. If you believe that kindness still matters in this world, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to the channel. Also leave a comment telling us where you're watching from and whether you believe good deeds always find their way back. Daniel spent the next few days searching for work. But it wasn't easy. Every garage he visited already had enough mechanics. Some promised to call him if something opened up, but their polite smiles told him the truth, no one was hiring. By the 4th day, Daniel had begun to worry. His savings were thin, very thin. At night he lay awake staring at the ceiling of his small apartment, wondering if doing the right thing had cost him everything. But somewhere deep inside, he still believed he had made the right choice. Meanwhile, across the city, the old woman he had helped was sitting beside a hospital bed. Her husband had survived a serious surgery. When she told him about the mechanic who had refused to charge her, the elderly man listened quietly. He had spent most of his life building businesses, and he had learned to recognize something rare when he heard it. True character. The next morning, the old couple began asking around for the name of the garage where Daniel had worked. It didn't take long to find it. When they arrived, Mr. Carter greeted them with his usual business smile. But that smile faded quickly when they asked about the mechanic who had helped the woman. Mr. Carter proudly explained that he had already fired the man for breaking company policy. The old couple exchanged a silent look. Then they left. But their search wasn't over. 2 days later, Daniel sat on a park bench eating a simple sandwich, trying to stretch his remaining money as far as possible. He had just returned from another unsuccessful job search when a sleek black car slowly pulled up beside the curb. The vehicle looked so expensive it seemed out of place on that quiet street. A well-dressed driver stepped out and approached him. At first, Daniel assumed there must be some mistake. But then the rear door of the car opened, and out stepped the same elderly woman whose car he had repaired. She walked toward him with a warm smile that Daniel instantly recognized. For a moment, he felt embarrassed. He didn't want her to know he had lost his job because of what he had done. But before he could say anything, she gently explained that she had been looking for him. Her husband had insisted, because the world needed more people like him. Daniel listened, confused but curious. Then the driver handed him an envelope. Inside was a job offer. Not from a small roadside garage, but from a large automotive company owned by the woman's husband. They had recently opened a new service center and were searching for someone honest enough to lead it. Someone skilled, someone compassionate, someone exactly like Daniel. The salary listed on the letter was more than double what he had earned before. Daniel read the letter twice to make sure he wasn't imagining it. His hands trembled slightly as he looked up at the elderly couple standing before him. For the first time in days, hope returned to his chest. He accepted the offer. And within weeks, Daniel became the head mechanic at the new service center. But he didn't forget where he came from. Under his leadership, the shop gained a reputation for fairness and honesty. Customers trusted them, mechanics respected him, and the business grew faster than anyone expected. Ironically, even Mr. Carter's old garage began losing customers as people heard about the new place run by the mechanic who valued people more than money. Months later, Daniel stood inside the bright, modern workshop watching his team repair cars with the same care he had always believed in. That single moment of kindness, the decision to help a stranger without expecting anything in return, had changed the course of his life. And perhaps even more importantly, it reminded everyone who heard the story that goodness still exists in the world. Before we finish this story, here is a small request. Please take a moment and comment the word kindness below if you believe that doing the right thing is always worth it, even when it seems to cost you everything. Stories like Daniel's remind us that life has a strange way of rewarding the good we put into it. Sometimes the reward doesn't come immediately. Sometimes it arrives when we least expect it. But it comes. If this story touched your heart even a little, please support the video by liking it, sharing it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribing for more powerful stories that remind us how much one act of kindness can change the world. Because somewhere out there, someone is waiting for a small act of kindness that could change their life forever.